Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I believe it's, let me see here. I think it's 10 articles. It looks like it's 8, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 articles in this episode for you. I can't keep track of it all. All these URLs, of course, are in the description of the video for your convenience. This is going to be about the immigrants and the illegals and all the hullabaloo that's going on about all this stuff, and so I thought I'd throw it all into one episode here, and we'd shake it up and see what it spits out. BizPack review. It says, "Our country, not theirs." Tucker mops floor with George Ramos over inflammatory immigration claims. America isn't our country? Fox News host Tucker Carlson asked Univision anchor George Ramos what he meant in his recent statement that America is our country, not theirs. Clipping this by a Fox News channel if you want to pull it and take a look at that, but I'm going to read the article. It says, he replied that America is ours, and that his previous statement was in reference to immigration critics who think it is a white country, saying that such people want to go back to 1965 with a white majority. It's a multiracial country, and we must be tolerant, he claimed. Folks on social media took issue with that yours, mine, and ours part of the Univision anchor's statement. There's a bunch of tweets. One person tweets on here, Tucker Carlson, go to Mexico and say that Mexico belongs to you and all Americans and see if you make it back alive. Another one says, I think all immigration should stop for years so we can get a handle on our country's situation. Even at least one non-white thought Ramos' reasoning was flawed. I supported real Donald Trump. I'm not white. Your message is a tainted one, Tucker Carlson. The Fox News host also argued that it's not bigoted to be concerned about changes in the country's demographics, that Americans have a duty to be tolerant of immigrants. And there's some video of that. Things radically change in your country. It's okay for you to say, what is this? And maybe I don't want to live in a country that looks nothing like the country I grew up in, Carlson said. He asked. Others, including Hispanics, were in complete agreement. One says, every nation on earth has borders and laws as to who we can go to. Their nations, America is no different. Another one says, George is an embarrassment. As a Latina, I reject his anti-American mindset. He wants to destroy white people. It says, Ramos ignored the question and projected that in 35 years, the United States will be 30% Latino. There is a Latino revolution going on, he said. Carlson said that Ramos was missing the point. You come to this country, make a ton of money, and you yell at people, expressing legitimate concerns about how the influx of other cultures affect education, the economy, and culture. While there's positive effect to immigration, there's also a negative one. Federal inmates, prisoners are Mexican citizens, Carlson said. Why shouldn't I be allowed to say that's a problem? At another point in the interview, Carlson made an observation about Ramos's appearance SmackDown. And there's some tweets here. It says, haha, Tucker Carlson just told George Ramos, come on, you're whiter than I am. You even have blue eyes. Another one says, blue-eyed rich Mexicans like you. Smack. Wow. Ramos also admitted that his own native country of Mexico has much stricter immigration laws than the United States. Illegal immigration is a felony in Mexico. In the United States, it's more of a civil infraction, similar to a traffic violation. The next article I have for you is off of BizPack Review. And it says, spin up here. Come on, hamster. Well, there he goes. It says, serious red flags over terror suspect allowed to enter U.S. days before election. Lawmakers say arrest was spiked. Sessions is being asked to launch an investigation into why an Iraqi terror suspect who claimed to have participated in attacks against U.S. troops as insurgent, was allowed in the country in the run-up to the November election. And there is I guess it's a tweet from Fox News. It says, Iraqi insurgent fighter allegedly lied about identity, got through extreme vetting. Want to know why his arrest was spiked days before the election, when then candidate Donald Trump was warning about the dangers of admitting refugees without a stronger vetting process in place. News. The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee has asked Sessions to find out why, a little bit, well, for goodness sakes. There we go. Now it's coming back. Page disappeared on me. I had to give it a minute to get up here. I'll have to hamster ate it. Beats the dog eating your homework, doesn't it? The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee has asked Attorney General Jeff Sessions to find out why the terrorist suspect's pending arrest was allegedly spiked just over a week before the election. Trump had run on terror platform and had been critical of President Obama's refugee policy. When Joint Terrorism Task Force and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Texas sought to prosecute, the local law enforcement and prosecutors allegedly met resistance from officials within the National Security Division's counterterrorism section in Washington, D.C. Ron Johnson, Republican of Wisconsin, said in a March 6th letter to the U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Go here, and then it says, here's the reaction from social media users who suggest that crooked Hillary wasn't the only crooked Democrat. And there's some video and a tweet from JC for Republican says Trump was right. Iraqi killed American soldiers, makes way into the United States. Justice let him go because it wouldn't hurt Hillary versus Trump. And another one tweets, Hillary prevented JTTF from pursuing case against Iraqi refugees, so Trump's point would not be proven. There's several more tweets here. Up and read them, but I thought that was very interesting. The next one here is off of Judicial Watch. It says Obama DOJ failed to stop Mexican cartel murder of ICE agent guns. The Obama administration had numerous opportunities to arrest Mexican drug and weapons traffickers before murdering a U.S. or a federal U.S. agency and seriously wounding his partner. For the hands-off approach, a new federal audit reveals. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, called the ATF, which operates under the Department of Justice, called the DOJ, should have stopped traffickers, members of the Los Zetas organization, long before the Immigration and Customs, called ICE, agents were ambushed in Mexico with firearms smuggled south of the border thanks to a once secret Obama administration gun running operation. February 15th of 2011, ICE agents Victor Avila and Jamie Zapata were assaulted while returning to Mexico City from Mexico in their government-issued armored sports utility vehicle. Both agents were on assignment in Mexico, and their SUV displayed diplomatic license plates. After passing through a toll booth on Mexican Route 57 in the early afternoon, the agents noticed the two vehicles were following them and blocked the agent's SUV from the front, forcing it to stop. Approximately 8 assailants approached the SUV armed with various firearms, including assault weapons, AK-47s and AR-15s, but it's ARSS, I don't know, and handguns. Two of the assailants gained access to the interior of the SUV through a partially open window and shot Zapata and Avila. Zapata died and Avila was seriously wounded. Authorities determined that members of the renowned drug trafficking organization Los Zetas carried out the attack with weapons that had been purchased in Texas as part of a scandalous Obama administration operation that had allowed guns from the U.S. to be smuggled into Mexico so they could eventually be traced to drug cartels. The whole thing blew up when federal law enforcement officers lost track of hundreds of weapons which have been used in an unknown number of crimes, including the murder of a U.S. Border Patrol agent in Arizona. In this case, the buyers, Otilio Osorio and his brother, Raffaele Osorio, had long been on the ATF radar for trafficking guns in Mexico. In fact, more than a year before the ICE agents were attacked, the ATF witnessed the Osorio brothers complete a transfer of 40 firearms to Mexico, according to a report issued this month by the DOJ Inspector General. There clearly was probable cause to arrest both Osorio brothers. The report states after ATF witnessed the Osorio complete a transfer of more than 3 dozen firearms on November the 9th of 2010. Even when ATF agents found guns that they were legally entitled to seize at the get my tongue to work, the Osorio brothers' house in Lancaster, Texas, they didn't. 2 of those weapons were later found at crime scenes in Mexico, the DOJ watchdog writes in its report. And that says, overall, we found numerous problems with ATF's assimilation of information concerning the Osorio brothers, of the ATF's response to mounting evidence that they were committing firearms offenses. The report states, and it goes on to say, we determined the ATF's Dallas Field Division had collected sufficient facts to investigate further before Otilio Osorio purchased the gun and used it in the Mexico ambush. Firearms that are most popular among Mexican drug cartels. These include powerful long arms with high capacity ammunition clips. Examples are the Barrett SO caliber rifle, the AK-47 type rifle, the AR-1S type rifles. The firearms purchased by Otilio Osorio and Felish, both were variants of the AK-47, a Draco 7.62 caliber pistol, and the WASR 10.62 caliber semi-automatic rifle. Was a leader in investigating the Obama administration's illegal Mexican gun running operation and filed several lawsuits in federal court to uncover details. Known as Fast and Furious, the scandalous secret program was masterminded by the DOJ and implemented by the ATF under the leadership of Obama Attorney General Eric Holder. The weapons have been implicated in hundreds of crimes in both Mexico and the United States, the records show. They also documented document how high-level officials of the Obama administration covered up the scandal that the former president abused his office by asserting executive privilege to keep Fast and Furious records from going public. They exerted executive privilege for Holder's wife and mother to conceal emails with the then Attorney General involving the operation. My, what a tangled web we weave. The next article is off BizPac Review, and it says, unprecedented decline seen in illegal border crossing data since President Trump took office. It continues. It looks like President Trump gets enough policies on immigration are already reaping rewards. There has been a 40% decrease in illegal immigrants crossing the southern U.S. border since the president took office, with Secretary of Homeland Security John Kelly announced in a statement on Wednesday. And there is a copy of the, I guess this is the statement. Let's see, there's a tweet with it. It says illegal border crossing data shows an unprecedented decline for southern U.S. border in February, down 40%. At DHS government Secretary John Kelly. Another tweet says border apprehension numbers went down in February for the first time in at least 7 years. Is Trump working? And then the article continues. It says illegal border crossings dropped from 31,578 people to 18,762, according to U.S. Customs and Border. The drop in apprehensions show a marked change in trends, Kelly said, since the administration's implementation of executive orders to enforce immigration laws. Apprehensions and inadmissible activity, the lowest monthly total in at least the last 5 years. And there's a tweet here from Roberts Justice, says the Trump effect, illegal decreased 40%, such activities trending lowest in 5 years. And the article goes on. It says Trump ordered an increase in border security and gave the green light, authorizing construction of the border wall. Executive orders he signed within days of taking office. Kelly added the rates charged by smugglers to sneak people into the U.S. have risen dramatically. For 2016, coyotes have hiked their fees in some areas by roughly 130%, from $3,500 to $8,000 in regions, he said in a statement. Changes in the U.S. policy, including the detention of apprehended aliens, drive up the smuggling fees. Called the sharp plunge in apprehensions numbers encouraging. The decrease is also encouraging news because it means many fewer people are putting themselves and their families at risk of exploitation, assault, and injury by human traffickers. Dangers of the treacherous journey north, he said. This total is lowest in the last 5 years, seeming to point to a correlation between tougher U.S. policies and the drops in numbers. To respond to any changes in these trends, as numbers of illegal crossings typically increase between March and May, Kelly concluded. However, the early results show that enforcement matters, deterrence matters. Immigration enforcement can make an impact. The next article get it organized here. Here we go. Border Patrol tunnel rats plug underground passages. In the U.S. Border Patrol as tunnel rats, agents who go in clandestine passages that have proliferated on the U.S.-Mexico border over the past 20 years to smuggle drugs. The Associated Press joined the Border Tunnel Entry Team, as it's formerly known, inside an incomplete tunnel that was discovered in San Diego in 2009, 70 feet deep, 2,700 foot long, and equipped with a rail system, lighting, and ventilation. And answers about the team's work. How many tunnels are there? There were 224 border tunnels originating in Mexico from 1990 to March of 2016, including 185 that entered the United States, according to the latest U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration's annual survey. Many are shallow holes, but some are elaborately constructed with hydraulic lifts, water pumps, and rail cars. The vast majority are in Arizona, where smugglers connect to underground drainage canals, in Nogales, and in California, where construction noise generates less attention amid warehouses of an industrial area of San Diego, across from densely packed homes and businesses in Tijuana. What are they for? Tunnels are generally used for multi-ton loads of marijuana because the drug's bulk and odor are difficult to conceal for motorists and pedestrians who enter the United States at official border crossings. The preferred method for smuggling methamphetamine and heroin. In 2015, authorities seized cocaine in connection with 2 California tunnels, including one that ran underwater from a house in Mexicali, Mexico, to the All-American Canal near the city of Calexico. The tunnels, which the DEA generally attribute to Mexico's Sinaloa cartel, cost between $1 million and $2 million to build and take months to complete, said Chris Davis, supervisory special agent with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigations. That investment quickly pays off, with profits from smuggling if crews escape detention, he said. How are the tunnels found? Leads from informants, neighbors, and others have been most trusted technique, but technology plays a part. Lance Lenore, who leads the Border Patrol's Tunnel Rats team in San Diego, says acoustics, and ground-penetrating radar complement human intelligence. Investigators keep tabs on who owns and rents warehouses in San Diego Otay Mesa area for suspicious transactions. They also visit businesses to ask them telltale signs, construction equipment and piles of dirt, jackhammer sounds, people coming and going at odd hours. They'll tunnel anywhere they want to. It's whatever they can get a building on the south side and a building on the north side, Lenore said. Location, location, location. Sometimes agents stumble across gopher holes while on patrol. Once the passages are found, the tunnel rats go inside, a dangerous assignment because the walls can collapse. They map and measure the passages and work on filling them with concrete to prevent them from being used again. The tunnels are discovered. On the U.S. side, the tunnels have been filled since 2007 to prevent smugglers from burrowing into them. In Mexico, they are sealed but not plugged with concrete. Mexican authorities say they do not have the money to fill them, a vulnerability that is gaining more public scrutiny. Lenore said smugglers have tapped into existing tunnels at least 7 times in recent years. Let's get down to funding and political will, he said. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security says it spends $8.7 million. There we go. $8.7 million to fill tunnels from 2007 to 2015. Last week, it awarded a $153,000 contract to inject concrete into the U.S. part of a completed tunnel lined with cobblestone. The tunnel was discovered in October in a San Diego warehouse 1,200 feet north of the border. What does President Donald Trump want to do? Trump has made a Great Wall on the 2,000-mile U.S. divide with Mexico signature issue of his presidency, prompting critics to say that people will go over, under, and around it. Trump, as the Republican nominee, promised during an August speech in Phoenix he would find and dislocate tunnels and keep out criminal cartels. His executive order on border security does not specifically address tunnels, but notes criminal organizations run sophisticated drug and human smuggling networks on both sides of the border. Inside a San Diego tunnel underneath a highly fortified border fence last month, Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly said drug profits were so enormous smugglers would keep trying to burrow through. The fact that they're spending huge amounts of money to tunnel underneath the walls tells you that they can't get through it, Kelly said. Close off of BizPac Review. And it says CNN's live feed cuts GOP congressman just as segment was starting to get interesting on refugee terror stats. CNN's Dana Bash was interviewing Representative Scott Taylor, Republican of Virginia, on Tuesday afternoon when the topic, a reasoned defense of President Trump's new travel ban, apparently got just a little bit uncomfortable for the libs behind the scenes at the Clinton News Network. At least that's the way it looked. Of it, if you want to take a look at it. There's a tweet that says CNN cuts guest feed after he mentions terror linked to refugees. Just a coincidence. Do you think as a member of the Homeland Security Committee it's necessary for the security of this country to put this ban in place? Bash asked. I do think it's important for our security, and I think that the people overwhelmingly in this country want that as well too, because again, just today the FBI comes out and says 30% of their domestic terrorism cases are for folks who are refugees, Taylor responded. It's important not to label all refugees bad. That's not why I'm here, but at that point, Taylor's eagerly awaited point was interrupted by an error screen and a loud beep. Oh, Bash said, acting surprised. I was just going to say, Congressman, it's time to go, but I think the TV gremlins did that for us. So they're calling them TV gremlins nowadays. I like Trump's name for them. Fake news. The next one we have. Oh, I love the news. The next one we have is off of constitutionrising.com here, Rick Wells, U.S., and it says, 31 senators ask DHS for 5,000 visas to give American jobs to foreign replacements. Can't make this stuff up. A small but significant test for General Kelly and the Trump administration in general has emerged. They will be asked to stand strong against the weasels in the Senate who talk out of both sides of their mouths. Admittedly, that does account for the majority of members on one issue or another, and in this instance, it's American jobs. It may not be as easy as the fix is already in. The commitment to give away 66,000 of our jobs to foreigners has already been made by Congress. Kelly will be facing off against a group of 31 senators who have sided with the deep pockets of the big business and lobbyists against what's best for the citizens they supposedly represent. Being pressed by the group in form of a request for replacement of H-2B visas, in equivalent of the high-tech American job-killing H-1B visas. Disappointingly, the swamp Burman making the request are primarily by a 2-to-1 margin. The American people aren't their financial sponsors or political enablers. Therefore, our interests, including our right to work in our own country, will not be represented. The sellout senators are trying to squeeze out every possible opportunity to hire a foreigner instead of an American by asking that the estimated 5,000 unused visas be made available for reissue, as the cap of the 66,000 per year has nearly been reached. Once that happens, they'll have to seek out other options, including the unthinkable hiring Americans for American jobs. That would mean being forced to pay a reasonable wage and provide benefits. It could then lead to unrest among their foreign slave labor who are being paid less. It's the kind of problem they don't need. Hiring Americans must be avoided at all costs. Just 3 months ago, following the election and the American People's Uprising, the GOP leadership cut the allotment they had inflated to 264,000 back down to the customary point of 66,000. They're asking that the number of unused visas for the months be calculated and used to extrapolate our estimates for the second half, and that they be reissued accordingly. North Carolina Republican Tom Tillis is leading the way, making this announcement on March the 6th. He obtained what he feels is sufficient cover. 30 co-sponsors provide the needed insulation from the American people. He's wrong. While he and his cohorts don't care about getting Americans back to work, the American people do. It's nothing to be dismissed as insignificant. His announcement here's what he says. Senator Tom Tillis, Republican, North Carolina, Mark Warner, Democrat of Virginia, and a bipartisan group of 29 other senators sent a letter to Secretary of Homeland Security John Kelly outlining concerns that the H-2B visa statutory cap will be reached soon. The senators requested the Department of Homeland Security to conduct an audit to determine the number of unused visas during the first half of the fiscal year, and also requested that any unused visas be provided to eligible businesses that have been unable to secure an adequate number of workers due to the cap. After previously announcing that the statutory cap had been reached, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency determined that more than 5,000 unused visas were available. Soon thereafter, the agency began accepting applications from businesses still hoping to hire workers through the program. With that in mind, we respectfully request that your office conduct an immediate audit of the number of unused visas from the first half of the fiscal year and project the likely usage rate for the second half of the fiscal year. practice, any unused visas should be provided to eligible businesses that have been unable to secure an adequate number of workers due to the cap. We understand that when USCIS deems the cap to be reached, it accounts for a certain number of withdrawals, denials, and revocations. It is very important, however, that as soon as it has the information on actual number of visas issued, USCIS immediately makes any unused visas available to seasonal businesses. Those senators with dirty hands seeking to cast American workers aside benefit exploitive businesses are as follows: John Barizio, Republican of Wyoming; Roy Blunt, Republican of Missouri; Richard Burr, Republican of North Carolina; Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana; Republican of Mississippi; Susan Collins, Republican of, I believe it's Maine. It's M-E. Is that Maine? I'm pretty sure that is. John Corrigan, Republican of Texas; Mike Enzi, Republican of Wyoming; Cory Gardner, Republican of Colorado; Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina. You knew his name would be in there. Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah; Johnny Akeson, Republican of Georgia; James Lankford, Republican of Oklahoma; Jerry Moran, Republican of Kansas; Lisa Murkowski, Republican of Alaska; Pat Roberts, Republican of Kansas; Mike Rounds, Republican of South Dakota; Tim Scott, Republican, South Carolina; Dan Sullivan, Republican of, I think that's Alaska. Yeah, AK, Alaska. Roger Wicker, Republican of Mississippi; Michael Bennett, Democrat of Colorado; Bob Casey, Democrat of Pennsylvania; Ben Cardin, Democrat of Maryland; Tom Carper, Democrat of Delaware; Chris Coons, Democrat of Delaware; Angus King, Independent of Amy Klobuchar, I'm not sure, Klobuchar, Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota; Democrat of Washington; and Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon. So there's the list. I'm not afraid to call them out. The next one we have here is off of Newsmax.com, and it says, prayer bill to muffle amplified broadcast moves forward. Mosque call to prayer in Israel may soon be much quieter after a bill aimed at muting the prayer calls, which are projected over loudspeakers, won preliminary approval on Wednesday. The amplified prayer calls usually begin just before 5 a.m. and occur different times throughout the day, annoying nearby neighbors. Support of the legislation believe it will improve the quality of life for those who live in close proximity to the mosque. Israel is committed to freedom for all religions, but is also responsible for protecting citizens from noise, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in November, according to the New York Times. Zohir Balu, a member of the parliament, disagreed with Netanyahu and called the bill dangerous. We're talking about small politicians who are trying to persecute the Arab minority in the country, he said, according to the Times. It's a stain on the forehead of Israel's society, state of Israel. In the book of laws, this law is the blackest. Other opponents of the bill argue the measure is racist. You are committing a racist act, said Ahmed Tibi, an Arab lawmaker, Rutgers reported. The legislation, if implemented, would prevent houses of worship in Israel from amplifying calls of prayer throughout loudspeakers from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The measure would also ban amplification of the prayer calls in residential areas at all hours of the day. This is a social-minded law that aims to protect citizens' sleep without, God forbid, harming anyone's religious faith, said legislator Moti Yogev, a sponsor of the bill, according to Rutgers. And I can relate to that. I live next door to a church. They have this organ music that plays twice a day, every day, 365 days a year, and an extra broadcast of it on Sundays through the steeple on the church and it goes on for 20 minutes. And I'll tell you, it gets old. Um, I mean, if you're just in the neighborhood for a day and you happen to hear it, you know, you think, oh, isn't that lovely? Isn't that nice? And it's the same music. And I've lived here over 4 years, and I've listened to this every day, day in and day out, twice a day, every day, and 3 times on Sunday. And I've got to tell you, it's old. It is so old. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't play it at all. Played it on Sunday, or you know, maybe Sunday and Wednesday, you know, twice a week or something. But twice a day, every day. Oh please, I'm telling you, it's enough to drive you up a wall. And I can just imagine what is that 5 times a day prayer call for the Muslims? Yes. Yeah, you know, I can understand how the neighbors would get a little upset. And this is the last article I have in this episode for you. It's Times of Israel, and it says injuries, 7 in Germany train station. Dusseldorf, Germany. German police have arrested an axe-wielding attacker believed to be suffering from mental health issues after he injured 7 people in the main train station in Dusseldorf on Thursday. The 36-year-old man is from former Yugoslavia, according to police, who said he suffers serious injuries when he jumped from a bridge while trying to escape. An assailant, probably armed with an axe, attacked people at random at about 8:50 p.m. local time, city police said in a statement, adding that he apparently suffers from mental problems. Out of the 7 injured, 3 were badly hurt and 4 were slightly injured, they said. Due to his injuries from the bridge fall, the subject was not yet able to be interrogated, agency DPA reported. His reasons for carrying out the act is unknown. In the wake of the rampage, large numbers of police, including heavily armed police commandos in balaclavas and bulletproof vests, were deployed at the station. Bild newspaper reported that helicopters flew overhead. The interruption at the central station in Dusseldorf, we can't say will start running again, regional police said on Twitter. Police originally said several attackers were involved, but after determining the man was the sole person responsible and taking him into custody, the station was reopened shortly before midnight on Thursday. Platform waiting for the train arrived, and suddenly someone with an axe came out and started attacking people, an unnamed witness told Bild. There was blood everywhere. The witness was quoted as saying, Peter Altmaier, a close advisor to Angela Merkel, wrote on Twitter, what happened at the central station in Dusseldorf? Our compassion and our thoughts go out to the injured. Mayor Thomas Giesel also also reached out to victims. It's a huge blow for Dusseldorf. Many people are in shock. I'd like to thank the police. My thoughts go out to the victims and their families, he reportedly said. And there are some pictures in this if you want to pull it up and take a look at those. And the article goes on here. It says German authorities have been on alert, especially since an assault claimed by the Islamic State group in December when a hijacked truck plowed into a Berlin Christmas market, killing 12 people. According to German security, there are about 10,000 radical Islamists in the country, of whom 1,600 have suspected links to terror groups. However, there have been several attacks in Germany recently where the assailants have turned out to simply be physically or psychologically unbalanced. In July last year, a 17-year-old migrant wielding an axe and a knife went on a rampage on a train in Bavaria, southern Germany, seriously injuring 4 members of a tourist family from Hong Kong nearby. That attacker was later found to be mentally unbalanced. In February, 35-year-old German national who, according to media, was also suffering from psychiatric problems, to passers-by in Heidelberg, southwest Germany, killing one and injuring two. And there you have that. That this is Friday. The live show is tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I hope everybody can join us. We have a lot of fun, and I think I've got a special guest coming on. So, you know, you might want to come in and see who my surprise guest is and see what transpires, because, hey, you never know what's going to happen on my shows. There'll be a chat room and everything. So, you know, come all, have a good time. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Don't be afraid to let me know. Share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Be glad to have you. This way you'll stay informed. See you in the next episode.